you're here to make a significant announcement.
I've registered as an Arizona independent. I know some people might be a little bit surprised by this, but actually I think it makes a lot of sense. You know, a growing number of Arizonans and people like me just don't feel like we fit neatly into one party's box or the other. And so, like many across the state and the nation, I've decided to leave that partisan process and really just focus on the work that I think matters to Arizona and to our country, which is solving problems and getting things done.
So your voting record is pretty capital D Democratic. I mean, your views are generally that of a moderate centrist Democrat. How does leaving the party change how you do your job?
Well, I don't think anything will change about how I do my job. Arizonans sent me to the United States Senate to be an independent voice for our state, and I'll continue doing that. What I think is important about this decision and this move is that I'll be able to show up to work every day as an independent and not be, you know, stuck into one party's demands of following without thinking. And as we've seen in recent years, both parties have created this kind of requirement or a pull towards the edges that you just unthinkingly support all of one party's viewpoints. It's made it difficult to find folks who are willing to work together and solve problems. Now, as you know, Jake, we've been able to do a lot of bipartisan work over the last couple of years, and I'm incredibly proud of that. And I think it's important for folks across my state and frankly across the country to say, yeah, there's someone that's kind of like me, doesn't fit neatly into one box or the other, but is standing up for their values, for what they believe in, and is doing it without trying to get one over on the other party or beat the other guy.
So ever since Raphael Warnock, Senator Warnock, was reelected earlier this week, the balance of power right now is 51 Democrats, or 51 votes for the Democratic Party. That includes 2 independents, Angus King of Maine and Bernie Sanders of Vermont. But that's 51-49. What you're doing today doesn't change that? It's still basically going to be 51-49?
Well, I know you have to ask that question, Jake, but that's kind of a DC thing to worry about. What I'm really focused on is just making sure that I'm doing what I think comports with my values and the values of Arizonans. So when I come to work each day, it'll be the same. I'm going to still come to work and hopefully serve on the same committees I've been serving on and continue to work well with my colleagues of both political parties. And I'm not really spending much time worrying about what the mechanics look like for Washington, D.C. And to be honest, Jake, I don't think anyone in Arizona is caring about that either. So I don't think things will change much for me, and I don't think things will change much for Arizonans.
And there it is. Incapable of not allowing the attention to be taken off her for a moment, Kyrsten Sinema has announced that she'll be changing her party affiliation to independent. Because in the aftermath of an election that saw Democrats earn the support of a record number of Americans, and saw Republicans shed support from hundreds of thousands given their embrace of election denialism and anti-choice policies, the takeaway for Kyrsten Sinema was, yeah, I think I'm going to move away from the Democrats and toward the Republicans. Like, I'm sorry, but when Jack Posobiec, legitimately don't know or don't care how his name is pronounced, and Carrie Lake are applauding your move, you might just be on the wrong side here. Just, you know, for starters. Now, before I continue, I should say at the top that she has affirmed that she'll continue to caucus with the Democrats in the same way that Bernie Sanders and Angus King both caucus with the Democrats, even though they're independents. That means the Democrats will effectively retain their 51-49 majority, which means that discharge petitions won't be needed to bring votes out of Senate committees, which was the case in the 50-50 Senate prior to this. In other words, practically speaking, we highly doubt that anything is going to change. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer released a statement saying, quote, "Senator Sinema informed me of her decision to change her affiliation to independent. She asked me to keep her committee assignments and I agreed. Kyrsten is an independent. That's how she's always been. I believe she's a good and effective senator and I'm looking forward to a productive session in the new Democratic Majority Senate. We will maintain our new majority on committees, exercise our subpoena power, and be able to clear nominees without discharge votes." Is that a relatively soft response? Yes. Does Chuck Schumer have to issue a carefully worded response because Kyrsten Sinema is a fragile narcissist who will look for any reason to screw over the same people who elected her? Also yes. And when I say that she owes her entire career to the Democratic Party, that's the truth. First off, she's been endlessly indulged by the Democratic Party leadership, which has sat by while she's almost unilaterally sank large swaths of their agenda, including raising the minimum wage, with this fun little theatric right here.
Miss Sinema, Miss Sinema.
Who'd have guessed that the kind of person who would curtsy while sinking a living wage for Americans would continue to be the worst? And it was Democratic voters who elected her on the pretense that she would actually deliver on the things that she pretended to support. Here's a video of Sinema vowing to subvert the 60-vote threshold and use reconciliation for, and I quote, good rather than evil.
So what does that mean? Well, in the Senate, we no longer have 60 votes. Some would argue that we never had 60 because one of those was Joseph Lieberman. But that's whatever. Yeah, and Nelson too, but really Lieberman. So now there's, I think as the president so eloquently said on Wednesday, there's none of this pressure, this false pressure to get to 60. So what that means is that the Democrats can stop kowtowing to Joe Lieberman and instead seek other avenues to move forward with health reform. And so it's likely that the Senate will move forward with a process called reconciliation, which takes only 51 votes. And by the way, is not unusual. You may recall that before the Democrats took the Senate in 2008, that the Republicans controlled the Senate for quite some time. In fact, since around 1994. They never had 60 votes, and they managed to do a lot of really bad things during that time. So the reconciliation process is still quite available, and we will use it for good rather than for evil.
And, well, not only were the Democrats not able to subvert the 60-vote threshold and use reconciliation for, quote, good rather than evil, but Sinema herself is why they weren't able to do that. You literally could not make this up. Here's another fun one. In 2003, a young protest organizer named Kyrsten Sinema showed up to greet Joe Lieberman at an event. Lieberman was a conservative Democrat who often acted as a spoiler for progressive legislation. Back then, Sinema said, quote, he's a shame to Democrats. I don't even know why he's running. He seems to want to get Republicans voting for him. What kind of a strategy is that? We live in hell. So the question now becomes, why do this? It's actually pretty simple. Kyrsten Sinema knows that given how unpopular she is, she wouldn't survive a primary. Her favorable rating among Arizona Democrats is 5%, among Arizona Republicans is 25%, and among Arizona Independents is 25%, meaning that she's underwater with quite literally the entire political spectrum. And so her calculation is that if she runs as an independent, if Democrats run someone against her, they'll split the vote between her and the Democrat and basically hand the Senate seat to a Republican in the next election in 2024. In other words, this is her way of holding the Democratic Party hostage, which, in her defense, has been a pretty consistent theme as far as Kyrsten Sinema is concerned. Gotta give her points for maintaining her shittiness. And her expected primary opponent, had she remained a Democrat, Congressman Ruben Gallego, also released a statement saying, last month, the voters of Arizona made their voices heard loud and clear. They want leaders who put the people of Arizona first. We need senators who will put Arizonans ahead of big drug companies and Wall Street bankers. Whether in the Marine Corps or in Congress, I have never backed down from fighting for Arizonans, and at a time when our nation needs leadership most, Arizona deserves a voice that won't back down in the face of struggle. Unfortunately, Senator Sinema is once again putting her own interests ahead of getting things done for Arizonans. So looking ahead to 2024, I'm not sure how this is going to play out, although given her dismal favorability ratings within the Democratic Party, there is always the possibility that her gamble to screw over the Democrats falls flat. I guess one consequence of being an attention-craving egocentrist is that eventually people learn that you're an attention-craving egocentrist. And so if the goal is to trick unsuspecting or low-information Democrats into voting for you, then maybe ensuring that your selfishness is always front and center isn't a great way to fly under the radar and do that. So here's to hoping that more Democrats come to learn exactly who Kyrsten Sinema is, although I don't imagine that'll be too difficult considering how often she insists on showing us. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.